So hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to the CTGlobal webinar on Insight Analytics, and thanks for joining. My name is Kim Larson. I'm the Director of Business Development for North America. And our session today is going to be led by CTGlobal founder and MVP, Kent Agerlund. He's going to go over Insight Analytics and give you a demo of the solution. Should anybody have any questions, please put them in the chat window and we'll address them during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. For those of you who do not know who we are, CTGlobal is a consultancy based in Copenhagen, Denmark, with additional offices in Norway, the Baltics, and the United States. We're primarily focused on Microsoft technologies, including cloud, data center, security, and our topic for today, Insight Analytics. And again, enjoy the demo and presentation and put any questions in the chat window. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the introduction. So yeah, so this webinar here is going to focus on on the service that we call Insight Analytics. And first, before I jump into that service and demo the service, then I just want to give you a little insights to why we came up with this. So we came up with this service here because we truly believe in digital data storytelling. We know from experience that data is not being used as efficient as it should be, and we've seen that over the last 19 years, being a consulting firm in the enterprise client management space. And we also know that since data is not being used as efficient as they should be, we also know that your hands can't hit what your eyes can't see. And what we mean by that is it's really difficult to do anything about an issue that you're not aware of. So what we try with Insight Analytics is obviously to tell you about what is the history of all of your data, what is the current situation, and also trying to be a bit proactive. So you will by using our service here be able to have a way better way of estimating, when will everything go south on you if you don't start doing something else, so how will our OneDrive data, for instance, how will they end up if we keep on doing what we're doing right now? How about our patching? How will that end up if we keep on doing what we're doing right now? And that's kind of the whole reason behind Insight Analytics. So what if you knew you were losing intellectual property? That's kind of a scary question, right? And it's also scary because a lot of organizations, they don't know the answer to this one here. We just know that if we are losing intellectual property, that's bad for business, depending on what kind of IP it is that we are losing. But the truth is, we don't really know if we are losing or not. So one of the things that we are trying to address is giving you insights to how compliant are you when it comes in terms of patching, and not only the usual Microsoft updates, but also how compliant are you when it comes in terms of patching, updating your drivers, for instance, your BIOS. How secure are you on those? Do you know where your OneDrive data resides? We've seen a lot of issues lately, especially during our Windows 10 migration projects, that we go ahead, we implement Windows 10, we implement OneDrive for Business, and that's about it. Then after that, we see customers not being able to keep track of, did it actually synchronize successfully the first time? Do I have data on the desktop that hasn't yet made it to the cloud? That's kind of important information, because if you lose your laptop at a certain point and the data only resides on the laptop, well, we kind of lost that intellectual property. And if you don't have a way to visualizing that, well, and then there is no way for you to tell whether or not you're losing that data. And we have several examples. One of them was a senior executive. She got a new laptop. She used her laptop for about, I think, 3-4 weeks, and then it all needed to, for whatever reason, they needed to re-image the laptop. And it turned out that she lost all of her data that she had on that laptop because the first OneDrive synchronization never really occurred. So she was in good belief. She was certain that all of her files were synchronized to the cloud, but she got a lot wiser when she got when she received the new re-imaged laptop. Stuff like that is super important. And we'll provide you with the insights to that. Then also 2018 and 2017, I would say working in IT, especially if you're working in security, was a bit challenging. I mean, we saw WannaCry, we saw Petya, and for a lot of organizations, they came like a thief in the night. I think that would be the right expression. And again, we know how to protect, but we don't know if we are protected. If there is no easy way for us to visualize, exactly how many devices are still insecure when it comes to WannaCry, then we're kind of fighting in the dark. And that's the kind of things that we want to highlight in here. So we will provide you with the insights. The same applies when we look at our daily operations. What if you knew that you were burning money by the hour? What if you knew how many blue screens you have? What if you knew how many application crashes that you have? What if you knew the cost of your computer startup time? And knowing that is kind of nice. But being able to compare your computer startup time, for instance, in North America to what we see in Asia Pacific, that's maybe even more important, because having a number is nice. So having, as I see here on my my slide, I have a login time saying 63, and that's seconds. But what good is that number if I don't know if it's normal, if it's above or below average? So what we will do is we will not only give you the numbers, but we'll also allow you to compare those numbers with other organizations within your organization. And a lot of our customers, they would have different companies within the company, and they might have different regions within the organization, and they might have different departments, or they might have different operating systems within the organizations, where it makes a tremendous amount of sense to go in and compare those values. So what we show you here is, if we just talk a little technical, the login time, that's typically the time that our end users is complaining about. That's the time from when they enter their password, they hit enter, until the device is ready. And the device is ready is, when all the applications have loaded, and when we have enough idle time on the CPU for the end user to actually go and become active and do his or her job. That's super important. And we have all heard that, hey, my device is slow, and users are complaining, but they cannot tell you how slow it is, and you have no way of seeing that. We've also seen a lot of hidden cost come in blue screens, and we're all like, me especially, when I migrated the first customers away from Windows 7 over to Windows 10, I was like, now we have a much more stable platform. And that was also the truth for a little while, but then all of a sudden we started seeing a lot of blue screens. We started seeing blue screens that we were unable to identify, mainly because end users are not telling us anymore. It's not like they will call service desk and say, hey, my device blue screen 10 times a day. They don't say anything. So what we're doing here is we are capturing that blue screen information from all of the devices, and then we will visualize them. So we'll tell you exactly how many blue screens have you had, what was the root cause of your blue screens, and by the way, how many work hours have you lost in this specific department over this period of time because of blue screens. That's super important and valuable information, because once you're presented with these are the root causes, then you would also know how to fix those issues. And if you don't know that, then we'll be more than happy to assist you with that. So we're doing that with blue screens. We're also doing that with application crashes, and we all know application crashes. We all know that it can be super frustrating for an end user, and we can sometimes lose data because of an app crash. Other times it's just, we lose time, and we become super frustrated when we're losing time too often. And again, if we don't collect that information, we don't know anything about it. So the hidden costs are often, found in user frustration. But the thing is, users don't tell us, and if they do tell us, we have no way of visualizing all of that, except that we might have create a ticket in ServiceNow or something like that. Another thing that I also highlighted in the beginning here is, your hands really can't hit what your eyes can't see. So, what if you knew your blind spots in here? And blind spots, I kind of mentioned the OneDrive for Business. So, are we having any synchronization issues? Have we performed the first synchronization? Are we synchronizing to the right tenant? I've been to a couple of customers now where the synchronization process works fine. We just have 10 devices synchronizing to another tenant, so they're not even synchronizing data to the company tenant. They're synchronizing data to a private tenant, and that's kind of scary. Other blind spots that we are seeing is how many devices do we have where a certificate will expire next week? This is truly important information, and those of you living in UK, you might remember last week where a lot of people were without a cellular provider last week because a certificate expired. So the cell provider couldn't provide us any 4G data, which is kind of not very cool, especially not when you rely on your mobile phone. And we see the same in organizations. All of a sudden, we have a department that can't receive any mails anymore simply because the certificate expired. But if no one is monitoring that, then nobody's knowing anything about it. We also see another great example that I have up here. I call it Gpo Processing Errors. We have been using group policies for the past, I would say, about 20 years now. And group policies are very powerful. Everybody working in IT and with domain management knows about them. But we don't really have any insights into how many devices are actually applying and processing those group policies correctly. So by actively monitoring that, and here you can see I only have 76% compliant devices. So by actively monitoring this, I know that I would have 24% of my devices here that are experiencing one or more GPO issues. And often when they're doing that, that will result in other issues. I had a case about 3 months ago where I was troubleshooting a lot of Windows Update issues for a customer, and it turned out that those Windows Update issues actually was related to Gpo processing errors. So once we fixed that issue, then we automatically fixed the WSOS update issues, and that's kind of the whole thing about visualizing your blind spots. Often we only focus on what we can see. So if we try to fix an issue, it's what's right in front of me. But as it is with many other things, the root cause might be completely elsewhere in our systems. So our blind spots in here are super important, and we have the data, and you might not have the data right inside of SCCM or right inside of Intune, but with the proper agent, we can get and produce those data. So if you would like to know whether or not your clients are patched, do you have any users and company data that is at risk, and if are we losing productive time, then with Insight Analytics, the whole core purpose of this service is to make you aware of these things. So you will become way more proactive. You will see where you're burning your money by the hour. So just before I jump into the demo, so what is Insight Analytics? So Insight Analytics is not just a dashboard. It's what we call a data generating tool. So we will go in and get the data that we need. Sometimes the data is already found within management systems like SCCM. Other times we will have to produce the data. Then we will produce the data on the client and send them up to SCCM. We don't have our own infrastructure as per se, so we'll just be using your existing configuration manager infrastructure, so you don't need to install anything on any of the clients. It's also a data gathering tool in the sense that we'll hook into the configuration manager database, and then we'll get the data that you need to present the information that you want to see. But that's not the only system we can hook into. So we will also be able to hook into Microsoft Graph, and by doing that, we can expose all of your Office 365 data, your Azure Active Directory data, your Intune data, and so on and so forth. And we also have other customers working on custom databases where we would have custom connectors. So the whole thing is you will have one visualization platform where you can visualize data coming from various different sources. And that visualization platform could be, it can be Power BI, it can even be Excel, it can be, our Azure dashboard, it can be one of the 50+ custom reports that we supply with the service. But it's just important to stress that Insight Analytics is much more than just the dashboard that I'm about to show you. It is also the way that we generate the data and the way that we gather those data. So with that, I'll just go ahead and jump into a demo. So for those of you who have never seen it before, the dashboard, now I did sign in here, and we have that integration process with Azure Active Directory. So if you have Azure AD, you can just sign in using your normal core credentials. If you don't have Azure Active Directory, then we have our own security to a database. Meaning then you would just go in and create security roles and assign them permissions and so on and so forth. And in essence, in here, what in the dashboard is a series of different groups, and those groups you can create as many as you want. This is just an example, and I'll dig into the example in a few seconds. So I have a group here called security, I have a group called compliance, and I have a group down here below called end user issues. So within a group, I have my visualization objects. So whatever I want to visualize, I'll just place in a group. As I create the widget, as it's called, we will automatically pull the data from your data source, and we'll show and update these data. So these data here are live data. It's not a one-time snapshot in any case. Now, so far we have the widgets, we have the groups. What we also have is we have a lot of different views. So whenever you want to visualize something, often what you visualize is targeted to an audience. So that audience might be managers, for instance. It might be IT pros that are working with the patch management process. So what you normally do is you go ahead and then you create multiple views, and in each of those views you will then add your widgets. So if I just look at some of them, let me just highlight a couple of them in here. So a typical view for a customer would be security. How well protected are we against WannaCry, for instance? How many devices do I have with mid-bias enabled? How many devices do I have with SMB1 enabled? That's incredible important information to have when you work with security, because here we can easily see that for SMB, for instance, well, I have SMB1 disabled on 87% of my devices, meaning that I have 13% of the devices still being vulnerable. Now, if I want to see what devices that is, I simply just click the widget, and it would open up a report telling me, okay, so these are the vulnerable devices here. So building the groups, you can mix and match whatever makes sense for you. So here in this demo environment that I have, what I really want to focus on is, security. How well are we protected against WannaCry, Petya, and so on and so forth. I also want to see how many of my devices actually do have local administrators. So in this environment here, we do not allow any local administrators. And if I have, more than one device, that's simply just one too many. I also have a list of insecure operating systems, and an insecure operating system can be an operating system that is 2 versions old, for instance, or it might have an insecure protocol. So down here in this widget here, I've kind of defined how do we at CTGlobal see an insecure OS. So a lot of different things here, and these are just a small subset of what we can do. Another common question, and I do get, is so how about compliance? How compliant are we? And when we talk about compliance, it can be a lot of different things. It can be how compliant are we against our application baseline, for instance. All of our devices, they should have these 27 applications and these 27 application versions installed. How are we doing on that? And that obviously can be visualized. What I've done in here is I've taken a look at how many active clients do I have. So in this environment here, I only have 90% active clients. That's super important when we talk, for instance, about Patch Tuesday. So if I just remember the 90%, and I jump back to my patch management view here, then the 90% is important, because the 90% will be my 100% when I'm talking about patch compliance. So when I'm looking at these numbers here, for instance, that would be, how compliant am I in October, in September, and so on and so forth. I will never reach my 100% compliance. I will never do that, because as I can see here, I only have 25% of my clients that don't have any issues. I have a lot of clients that haven't scanned within the last week. I have a lot of clients that haven't installed updates within the last week. And this is truly one of the values here, because now we first of all, we can easily see we're not 100% compliant, and that was our goal. But we're also being told, in the same view here, so what are the possible reasons why you are unable to reach your goal? So having all of that knowledge there will help us increase security. It will help us, find the blind spots that I was talking about. It will help me, definitely help me being also more proactive, because if I don't do anything here, next month is just going to be as bad as this month here. Each view is also a security barrier. So I can go in and say, well, for the global view that I created, only global administrators can look at that. For patch management, only the security team can look at that view. And I can go in and create as many views as I want. And if I want to create, just got a question on that. If I want to go ahead and create a widget, one of the things about this is that in order for you to visualize data, you don't really need to know anything about development or coding or anything like that. You simply go in and say, I want to create a widget. I want to place my visualization object in a specific group, and what's my category? So the category here would be one of the different connectors. So that could be, as I have here, 3 different configuration manager environments. And then I simply just go ahead and I select my widget. So in this example here, my blue screen count, I want to know for all of the devices I have in this specific collection for this specific period. I want to know, how many blue screens have I had. and how often do I want to collect that data. So you can do that by the minute, you can do that by the hour, you can do that, once every day, and so on and so forth. So once I hit the create here, it will just go ahead and create that specific widget, and then it's going to show me the data. So by creating the widget, it will go ahead and communicate with my configuration manager primary server. It will run the required queries, and it will present the data in here. All of that without me knowing anything about SQL or anything else. So that was like a super quick demo. Just go back into the deck. So how all of this works, quickly the architecture here. So we do install a service connector on your on-prem environment. That connector will encrypt the data that we need to present. It will also run the queries, and then it will encrypt the data, strip off all information about devices, users, and IP information, and so on, and only present the data in Azure, and it will present the data, as I mentioned, only by the value. So when the only thing we send up would be like 87, 92%, and so on and so forth. If you want to know more about that, then we have an entire white paper that will explain you how it works. I thought because we're so close to Christmas here, and this is a question I often get, I just want to show you a quick roadmap. So it's important to understand that this is a service. And in Q1 of 2019, we are releasing the next version. So once you opt into the version we have now, you will automatically also opt into the next one here. And in the next one, in the next version, we're changing the layout a bit, and your data will be migrated. And we're also offering you way more different widget types. So we have been working together with a lot of our customers, and they have provided us with super valuable feedback about, what is it that we would like to see besides what you already have. So these are just a couple of sneak preview pictures here, but hopefully you're as excited as I am. So just if you can't really read them, but some of the things that we see up here is like, so in how many different organizations or cities have I seen blue screens within the last 7 days? How are those blue screens progressing over time? How much money are we losing, have we lost within the last 30 business days due to blue screens, and so on and so forth. So that's just a quick preview into this. Once we have, I think when we get to January, we'll start doing a webinar here on the new version. How to get started? Well, it's super easy. We have a free trial, so you simply just follow this link here. Once you have put in your information, we will automatically send you information about where you download the software that is needed, and also your login information. Typically, you would be up and running in like 10-15 minutes. That would be about it. And now, Kim, I did talk for about 27 minutes here, so I only watched the one question, but I don't know if we have if we can just do a couple of questions here.
We do have a couple of questions. So thanks for going through that. I'm excited to see version 4 actually. All right, so first question: how can Insight Analytics prevent us from being attacked by the next WannaCry or Petya?
So first of all, since this is a service, what we do, and I didn't touch on that in here, but we will provide you with the logic that can disable the insecure network services. So for instance, SMB1 was a big issue what we typically do is we will provide you with the configuration items in that example that will allow you to figure out where do you have insecurities, and also automatically remediate that and fix that, and then obviously we'll also visualize it. So this is not a static thing. It's not something that you just go ahead and install and then you never hear from us again.
Okay, thanks. The next question is, how can Insight Analytics give an overview of the patch status when a new patch is released?
Good question. So whenever a new patch is released, typically what we see our customers have is they do have a patch deployment process, and if they don't have one, then we will go ahead and assist them with one. And we can visualize all the patch deployment processes that they have internally. So for instance, if you create, now I'll just become a little technical, if you create a software update group, the same second you go ahead and create that, we're able to visualize that. So patch Tuesday for December, was just recent here, and within 10-15 seconds after the patches has been released in SCCM, we will be able to visualize on the process.
Thanks. Okay, the next one. Knowing the number of blue screens of death, what experience do we have in cost savings reducing the number of the blue screens of death? I guess they're looking for an ROI.
Yeah, so that was. Yeah, so that's so one thing is visualizing it. So what we will help you do is we'll help you identify the root causes, and also help you tell you how big of an issue is it within your organization. Once we have identified the root causes, then depending on the root cause, we typically work together with the customer to fix it. And often what we have seen is it's either it's a driver. So there might not be any driver update process within that specific organization. It can also be the combination of a driver and a security application, or even the security application and the operating system version. So I would say the biggest challenge here is actually identifying the root cause, and that we will help you do. And once we have done that, then fixing the issue, I would say that's almost the easy part.
Okay, thank you. Next question, can Insight Analytics give insight to both clients and servers?
Yeah, that one is easy. We can definitely do that. So as long as we have the data, and if you're using Configuration Manager, as I guess most of you are on this call here, then yeah, if you have the SCCM agent installed on a server, we'll be able to generate that. Not a problem. There is no difference.
Okay, thank you. How do we remedy and fix issues that Insight Analytics finds?
So how do we fix them? It really depends on the issue, because if it's a driver that needs to be updated, then obviously we need to implement the process for that. But for most of the other issues, like an insecure protocol or an application with the wrong version, we can go ahead and use configuration items, and we will provide you as part of this with, I think it's about 120 plus unique configuration items here. And a lot of these configuration items also contain remediation scripts. So we'll go in and detect what is not supposed to be there, and then we'll automatically fix that once you allow it, obviously. So the customer will still be in complete control.
Okay, thank you. Can this service run with different views for different departments, for example, security or IT operations?
Yeah, so each view, look at each view as a security object. So and I did mention, I didn't show that, but I did mention that we can integrate with Azure Active Directory. So you don't need to go in and create new organizational roles or anything like that. You can just utilize what you already have. But each view can be a security object. So managers can only see the management view and so on and so forth.
Okay, thanks. The next one is, can I make my own widgets based on my own PowerShell script?
Yeah, we allow you to visualize whatever data you have within SCCM, and you can create your own widgets based on PowerShell scripts. You can create, as a matter of fact, you can go into the dashboard here and create your own SQL scripts directly. So you don't even need to create a PowerShell script. If you know the data is already within the SQL database, then you can just query it directly.
Okay. If a widget shows that a status is bad, can I kick off some automatic repair or remediation?
Yeah. So that would be exactly the same. So the CIs they will contain the remediation, and we just need to have the logic saying that, you know, when this happens X amount of time, then we will go ahead and enable the remediation part. So yeah, that can happen.
Okay. And what about integration? Insight Analytics can be integrated into ServiceNow.
Oh, I get that question a lot. So we can definitely, we need to know and understand exactly why you want to integrate those two services, but we can definitely integrate SCCM with ServiceNow. And we have to remember that we're just visualizing what we have within SCCM. So I would say yes, but I need to understand in more depth what it is that we're trying to achieve.
Okay. All right. And how can we monitor OneDrive sync status for the clients?
We will provide you with that. So that would be one of the configuration items that we have already developed. So the only thing that you would do is we can assist you is to implement that configuration item and run that against your users. And then we'll be able to pull out the data that you need to see. And we have not only the CI and the widget that I briefly showed you, but we also have a couple of custom reports that will give you much more detailed information about, you know, the sync status, how many files we have synchronized, how many files are missing, and the name of the tenant that we are synchronizing to.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about the reporting. Are there different views in the reporting so that someone's manager who doesn't look at the CIA can see a different report?
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll, as I understand, if I understand the question correctly, then yeah, you can definitely see the reports without going into Insight Analytics. That's not a problem. And we can also use SQL reporting services, so we can schedule those reports to be mailed every week or, you know, on a daily basis. So yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, and this is the last question that I see so far. So we run co-management with Intune. Is this supported in Insight Analytics?
Yeah, not a problem. Okay. So yeah.
Double check and see if there's any more. No. Well, that's it. No more questions.
Okay. Cool. And I think we did use our 30 minutes here. So yeah, thanks a lot for attending, and yeah.
Thanks for joining.
To be able to assist you.
Yep, and as to reiterate what Kent said, if you'd like a trial, please go to our website and you can click on the link. And if you need any help, Kent or one of our consultants would be happy to help walk you through setting it up. Thank you so much for attending. Have a great day.